skirt protector if I bring mine. Smart. It's very kind. That is Adriana, but we didn't have that before Adriana, right? Is that who did it? Ryan. Oh, Ryan did it. Okay, great, Ryan. Okay. Good afternoon. I call this meeting of the Allocations Committee to order at 4:35 p.m. We do have a quorum and we expect that Commissioners Spellacy and Jackson will be joining us in the next 10 to 30 minutes. So welcome to Commissioners Nugent and Blaze, who don't serve on our committee, but we really appreciate you being here as we hope to be presenting our CAP, COP, and panelist recommendations to the commission at our next meeting. So we love when we have our non-committee members here present to know the thought process in advance. So thank you for taking time out of your day. I would like to let those of you who are on screen know that we have some folks in the building with us today. We have two board members from Dallas Black Dance Theater, Linda and Ebony, and I'm not good enough to remember last names, so welcome. And we also have from the staff, Kristen Vogel, is that right? Yes, so thank you all for being here. Commissioners who are not a member of the committee, I will call on you to give us your thoughts at some point. Guest, you are non-participating members, so you will not be able to participate by speaking, but we do appreciate your presence. And then finally, I would like to welcome Frankie. And Frankie, I did not get your last name. Frankie Dillard. Frankie is a grad student at UTA in social work. She is also a teacher and an artist. She is here today for a class project observing government at work. So don't everybody laugh at the same time about what a great meeting she chose to come and get an example of the civic process and how we work really hard in the city of Dallas to fund all of our arts groups. So welcome. We're glad to have you here. And we'd love to talk to you after the meeting about any questions that you have, but I also cannot call on you during the meeting. So thank you very much. And as always, thank you, Chair Small, for being here. And I have Commissioner Bodell in the room with me. So we are ready to begin. The first item on our agenda is approval of the September 25th, 2025 meeting minutes, which was in your packet, distributed on Tuesday. Let's take one small moment and issue a standing ovation, wave of hands to Julia and the rest of the staff for getting us a really hard packet together a full 48 hours before our meeting. That basically means that these guys did not sleep this weekend, did not play with their children. They just worked for the city of Dallas and the artist here. So thank you very much. At this time, I'd be happy to entertain a motion on the minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
We have a motion from Commissioner Truzzello, and we have a second from Commissioner Bodell. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? The motion carries unanimously. The second item on our agenda is a voting item. It is a vote to recommend additional panelists to the OAC's funding programs review panel roster. And Julia will brief us on this item. Julia, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think it might be a little later in your packets, but the short version is we are really excited to be able to welcome 13 new panelists. Nominators include Megan Heber, who's a multi-year current panelist who nominated a lot of her graduate students at SMU. We also have COP organizations. As you remember, it is a requirement for COP organizations to nominate someone from their staff, board, artist community, or volunteer community to represent their organization as a panelist at some point during the year. And several COP organizations have jumped right on it and nominated their folks for 25-26 already. And finally, we have 6 self-nominations. These can come from the website. They can come from our public meetings. Folks can nominate themselves that way. And we have 6 people that are going to come from that direction. Backgrounds represented, we've got students, arts management professionals, lawyers, entrepreneurs, artists, and board members of arts organizations. So I'm really excited to have the insight and background of all of these folks coming to read. Many of them are starting right away with Arts Activate, reading round 2 right now. So looking forward to welcoming them to our panelist community. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? And if you've got your hand raised, I apologize, can't see you right now, so wait 1 second while we get the technical. Okay, if you have a question, wave your hands like this so that I can see you because you're really small right now. Any questions? I do not see any, so if there are any, please speak up. Okay, at this time, I can entertain a motion on voting agenda item number 2, which is the vote to recommend additional panelists.
Motion.
Who was that? Was that?
It was Commissioner Daniel.
So Commissioner Daniel, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I think that was Commissioner
Is that-
Truzillo who seconded. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, I will call the matter to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. The second item, or the third item on our agenda and the third voting item on our agenda is the vote to recommend funding allocations for the Community Arts Program, also known as the CAP roster. And that we will be briefed on that by Rhonda Ivory.
Hello, good evening or afternoon, everyone. It's good to see your faces. Don't get to do that very often. So we'll get right into it. I'll start with, actually, if we can do the, please. Okie dokie. Yes. Slide number 4. Got it? There we go. All right, thank you, Adriana.
Rhonda,
Yes.
is there any way, we have is there any way to get these? Okay, so just an apology in advance. If you raise your hand, it's entirely possible that I don't see you because you are all the size of a postage stamp on the wall across the room from me. So if I neglect to call on you, please speak up and we'll make sure everybody has a chance to ask the questions. But for now, Rhonda has the floor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So by way of recap, we'll just talk a little bit of fiscal year 24-25, just to remind you. We had 65 artists that were selected for this past year's roster. 53 of them are returning from the 23-24 roster. 2 of them were returning from prior years, but were not currently on the 23-24 roster. And we had 10 new applicants. Moving on to this current year, we received 91 applications. 87 of them were in English, 4 of them were in Spanish. We moved 81 applications forward to panel. And we unfortunately had to disqualify 10 applications for various reasons, including non-Dallas addresses, the submission of duplicate applications, which is against the guidelines, and we had 1 application that was submitted late, so we could not accept it. 12 current artists did not reapply. I know sometimes you wonder about that. 4 of them were first-time artists in 24-25. And 8 of them were multi-year veterans that did not reapply.
Okay, we have a question from Commissioner Daniel. Commissioner Daniel?
Yeah. Hey, Rhonda. Thank you. Do we know why the returning folks didn't apply this year?
Thank you for that question. I did reach out to them and ask what the reason was, and some of them did respond. Most of them missed the deadline. Some of them, one of them is moving out of town. Another one is having some family issues and doesn't know that that she can commit for the following year. So there were various reasons, and if you want specifics, I can provide that for you. But
No, I mean,
yeah,
generally, I just wanted to see if there was like a thread as to why people didn't apply. But if it's like life be life, and I get that.
life was life. And the main reason the majority of the artists provided was that they just simply missed the deadline. They placed it on their calendar. They put it on the wrong date, that type of thing. So yeah, just life. I think there's another hand.
Commissioner Holomo?
Thank you. Just so that I'm clear, in the spreadsheet, it says the cap award amount. So for example, Dora brought plenty, says 5,000. The next column says the reallocation. Is that what they netted at the end of the year? I mean, yeah, at the end of the year.
Thank you for that question. So the reallocation of funds is what they got in addition to their initial award. So Dora got 5,000. Then toward the end of the year, we gave her an additional 1,500 because she ran out of funds and her services were still being requested.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so we come to now fiscal year 25-26, and we had to do some adjusting of the scores, as you all know. And so what we did, instead of the max combined panel and admin score being 100, it was reduced to 85 because we removed the Alana programming score, and we also removed the equity and diversity score, which was a total of 15 points. So we ended up scoring up to 85 points, 75 points from the panel, and then 10 points from the contact and contract compliance scoring, which was the admin score. After the scoring was reevaluated, we ended up with 66 artists. We were trying to cap it at 65. However, we had 2 artists with the same exact score at the bottom. And so we went ahead and just added the second artist. And so that's how we ended up with 66. The score at which we stopped was 87.10%, and that was a normalized score, which now yields us 47 current artists that are going to be on the roster based on your recommendation, on your approval, 13 new applicants, and then 5 artists who were not on last year's roster but have been on the roster before in previous years. Do we have any questions on that? Okay. All right, so the discipline breakdown, let's see. Please remember, this will not add up to 66 artists. The discipline breakdown is every artist is able to apply or put in their proposal however many types of disciplines they can offer. So once we did the breakdown, this is what it looks like. Dance education, performance, et cetera, et cetera. I will say that for the 4 that are other, I have put on the next slide a breakdown of what that looks like. And so what happens is when they submit their application, there are options for them to choose which disciplines they want to do. These were not options, and that's why we placed them in other, because there was not this option in the drop-down box. But we do have these 4, which include film, and editing, capturing stories, creative spaces for people with IDD, which is intellectual and developmental disabilities, and of course, culturally rooted rites of passage. So those are the 4 that fall under the other category. I believe Commissioner Hornbuckle has a question.
Commissioner Hornbuckle?
Yes, Rhonda, I don't know if you're going to answer this question later on, but is the budget the same as it was last year?
Yes. We
Thank
stayed
you.
flat. Yes.
All right.
Okay, moving on. So we've talked about the 4 that are other, and I know you are always interested in knowing where the artists are as it compares to your districts. So this is a breakdown of where they live or where they have an administrative office per district. And you can see the changes there. We have quite a few. So that is all I have. If you want to have any questions or anything explained, please feel free.
Commissioner Truzilla.
Thank you. How are the CAP awards decided? Do the artists and the groups come in and say, we would like $8,000? I'm just trying to figure out, there's discrepancy all over the place regardless of the score.
Yes, so we don't award based on the score. We award based on what they've spent the previous year. So, for example, well, I'll start with this. We had 3 panels, right? And so in each panel, there were artists who were at 100%. So we wanted to do an enhancement for those 3 artists who got the highest scores. And so whatever they had last year, we went ahead and gave them an enhancement of $3,000. Okay? Now, everybody else, we went based on what they were awarded last year and how much more money they received throughout the year. The only ones that don't fall in that category are brand new artists. And the baseline for a brand new artist, individual artist, is $4,000. The baseline for a brand new organization is $6,500. Okay? The reason why we don't award per score is because they may have received a high score, but they don't spend that much money or they're not requested as much throughout the year. And so we could give them $10,000, but they may only use 2,000 of it. So we go based on what they used the previous year, what they were awarded, plus how much they received extra for that year. Now, if you look, I know it seems like it's all over the place, but if you notice carefully, anyone who received an additional $2,000 or more was given an additional $2,000. Anyone who received an additional $1,500 to $1,999 received an additional $1,500. And anyone below that just stayed flat. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Commissioner Truzilla?
One last thing. Are you, and I think I know the answer before even asking this. For the groups that scored lower, I'm seeing a lot of, they're all new. Are you going to work with them to see if you can help them get their scores up?
I missed,
The groups that scored lower, will the office be working with them to help them get their scores up in the next round of applications? In other words, what will is there some workshops for them as they come back into the program next year?
so we don't, thank you for that. It was kind of muffled, so I didn't understand. We don't have specific workshops or anything set up, but they are always welcome to reach out to us and we will sit down, do one-on-ones and explain, what they could do better on their applications. Absolutely, the opportunity is always there. And when we send out notifications, we put that in the letter. If you want to sit down with us and do a one-on-one, we'll schedule a Teams meeting and we'll go through their applications with them and explain what they could do better, how they could make their applications stronger. Also, next year when the applications open, that contact compliance option, they actually can reach out to us before they click submit. And make an appointment with us, and we will go through the applications with them. We won't write it for them, but we'll tell them, what could be stronger or, what they could improve on. So they have 2 options: to reach out now and also reach out when the application's open.
Commissioner Holomo?
Thank you. So Rhonda, I'm looking at the, well, first of all, thanks for putting in the district information. Love that. I'm looking at panel B spreadsheet, and Ofelia Faz, looks like she got additional funds reallocated to her, but yet she only got $2,000 for the new year.
Right. So anyone, oh, wait.
Because total she got 13 for last year, 13,000.
No, sir, sorry, that's a typo. It should be 12,000. So thank you for catching that.
Wonderful.
So,
Okay, good. Good news.
No. It should be 12. Thank you for seeing that. No, it should be 12,000. There should be a 1 in front of that. So thank you, Commissioner.
I'm gonna
Holomo.
add it
You're
right
always
now. Thank you.
So good to catch these things. Yes, it should be 12,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Holomo. And I'm going to ask that whoever makes the motion, make sure that you include in your motion that revision to the document that's before us. Are there any other questions? Commissioner Blaze or Commissioner Nugent, do you guys have any questions, even though you're not voting on this? We would welcome your questions if you have any.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Holomo.
Just, I'm looking at panel C now, and
Mhm.
vet, always a
No, no.
favorite.
Oh, yes. Would you like me to talk about that?
Yes, please.
I'm happy to. Okay, so when we did the initial revision of the scores, removing the DEI scores, Teatro Dallas and Vet were actually below the 65 selected. Okay, now in the process of doing this, one of our artists, Dora Brought Plenty, withdrew her application because she's moving out of town, moving out of state, which then pushed everything down, and Teatro Dallas then made the list. The reason why we included Vet is because if you notice, Teatro Dallas and Vet had the exact same score, and we didn't feel it was fair to stop at 65, even though that was our limit, and exclude her when she had the exact same score as Teatro Dallas. And that is why we are recommending 66 artists instead of 65, which is usually what we do.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Now, because she, oh, okay, I'll stop there then.
You may have been about to address what I was going to ask, which is, given that her award is significantly less than how much she was
Mhm.
requested, will there be an opportunity to, several opportunities, I assume, as funds are not used, to award them to her if she is requested?
Exactly. So in the middle of the year, and even sometimes before we get to May, which is, in May, we do a reallocation. We do an audit and reallocate funds as needed. But if we have funds available, if you notice, we didn't allocate all of the funding. We stopped at 547.5. So we always keep a little bit behind just in case. So if she were to run out of funding before the reallocation, we have a little bit of wiggle room to provide that service for her.
Were those the only two organizations that were deeply affected by the rescoring? And the impact of our office having to be legally resilient? Were those the only two that were really significantly impacted, or did we actually lose CAP artists that would have otherwise been funded?
We lost CAP artists who would otherwise have been funded.
Do you know how many we lost?
I believe we lost 2. Nova Pangea and For the Culture.
So if it's acceptable, and I know that this will be probably a request to the director, but I think that that is an important thing to report to QLAC and council when we go forward, that we have exercised our very best efforts to be legally resilient, and that in most cases, we have been able to fund all of the organizations and artists and reach the same citizens that we have always reached. But we have these 2 examples of artists who would have been funded absent the changes. I think that's important for our elected officials to know. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, at this time, I would be happy to entertain a motion on the CAP roster and funding recommendations.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this recommendation with the change to Ofelia Faz Garza going to 12,000.
Thank you, Commissioner Holomo. Is there a second? Commissioner Spellacy, welcome. We have a second from Commissioner Spellacy. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? The motion has passed unanimously. Thank you, and thank you, Rhonda.
Thank
We
you all.
appreciate
Thank
your
you all
hard
so
work on
much.
this.
We'll get started on contracting tomorrow.
Now the work begins. Both for Rhonda and for this committee, because the next item up is the vote to recommend funding allocations for the Cultural Organizations Program. Those of you who were here last week, was it that last week? Will remember that we had 2 scenarios. We were able to share with Julia what our thoughts and concerns were about what we would like to see in the next round. I'm not going to be the first person to say this to you, Julia, but a hearty thanks for all your hard work in addressing a lot of important but disparate concerns by all of the members of this committee. I think you've done a great job. And having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Julia for the briefing. And I'm going to ask that you hold your questions until Julia pauses and ask if there are any questions. And I'll let you control that.
All right. Just a recap of where we are in terms of our calendar. This is September's in the little box. I know it's the beginning of October. This is the last meeting we'll have before the ACAC recommendation, which will be October 16th. And we will immediately go to quality of life on October 20th before City Council on November 12th. So it's time to fly. If we go to the next one. This is just a reminder that we went ahead and confirmed that November 12th, just so that I have a little bit more time to connect with these organizations and really confirm their scopes of work before we go to City Council. But there will be no penalty to the organizations or delay to their typical contract timeline, even if we don't go to council until November. They will know what they will receive very soon. It will just say, the email will just say pending, confirmation on November 12th. Okay, so this slide has a lot of text. I apologize, but this is a continuation of our conversation over the last couple of months. So where we've landed is I'm only sharing one scenario with you today. The theme and the sort of, we always like to have rules that govern how we got here. And so the rules around this one were, we're going to prioritize as many new organizations that could reasonably enter the program at a base rate close to the rest of the tier. It raises the minimum funding percentage to returning orgs that received at least a 90. And I do want to take just one more minute to explain what that means, to make sure that we got it. As our discussion continued last week, I went home and thought, gosh, maybe I could be clearer. In every tier, there is both a minimum percentage of revenue and a minimum flat number. Whichever one is higher, if you received at least a 90, you got the one that is higher for your organization. If you did not receive a 90, you do not get that benefit. And if anybody has questions on that and specific organizations as we go, I have it broken out in tiers and we can talk about that. But I did want to start by clarifying what I mean by minimum funding percentages or flat rate to those returning orgs that received at least a 90. We are inviting in all new organizations that received more than an 85% normalized score in this scenario. This is lower than we have in usual years. In usual years, it has been 90. But this allows us to invite back the following groups: the Women's Chorus of Dallas, Urban Arts Collective, Pegasus Contemporary Ballet, Swan Strings, the Texas Supremacy of Music and Arts, Dallas Contemporary, Dallas Black Dance Theater, the Dallas Symphony Association, Young Leaders Strong City, Spark, and Agape Broadcasting, KNON. This also awards additional hot dollars to other organizations that scored above a 90 but are funded less by revenue percentage than their peers. So this is what I was saying earlier. All returning organizations that received above a 90 get at least what incoming organizations would have received in the same tier. So this is meant to address a comment I heard last week that taking a year off with COP would actually help folks. This is meant to address specifically that. We did make this sort of the best of both of orange and purple from last time. So we didn't have fewer increases. We went ahead and increased that tier 5 and tier 6 minimums and percentages. I did get a request from commissioners to look at some decreases. So every organization returning that believed below an 80 experienced a decrease in funding. We also decreased funding to organizations that significantly decreased their scopes of work. There were 2 organizations that since they were scored in May, turned in scopes of work that are significantly smaller to reflect different economic situations of those organizations, and those organizations experienced decreases in this scenario. With that, if we can move on to the next slide. These were reduction requests from commissioners that are honored in this scenario. First, reduce organizations that received below an 80% score. That was Anita Martinez, Dallas Historical Society, and Forest Forward. all received below an 80, and these are the cuts that we see here. Second rule was reduce organizations that received significantly above their peer organizations in tier by percentage of revenue and cut their own scopes of work by 25, 26. Big thought, that looks like a 50K reduction. That amount is 7% of last year's award. For Dallas Children's Theater, that is a $9,500 reduction. That is 5% of last year's award. We also had one organization that just by the bylaws of this program, we can't do more than 25% of an organization's total revenue from this one award. So Teatro Dallas had hit that. And so they have a $500 reduction. So that's 0.5 thousand. Yes, I can pause.
Okay, do we have any questions on, first of all, just to clarify, this reduction request from commissioners was not specific commissioners asking for a specific organization to be reduced, but rather was a summary of the sentiment of commissioners. Should we consider reductions for any organization that falls below a particular score or that reduces their scope, correct? So I just want that to be clear on the record. Does anyone have any questions about the reductions or the recommended reductions? I do have one. Julia, can you speak to some specifics on the two organizations where their scope of work reduced significantly between May when they completed their applications and now? I think it's important for us to understand whether that really was a significant, what was significant about those reductions.
Dallas Children's Theater and Big Thought both submitted updated projection matrices, which is a document that we look at that shows how many events you're going to do in a given year that you're proposing and how many people you're going to serve. Dallas Children's Theater's updated projection matrix takes us from 1,897 in-person events in 2024-25 to 561 in-person events for 25-26. In terms of audience members served, that goes from 80,000 audience members served to 47,000 audience members served. Big Thought submitted an updated projection matrix as well, going from 20,000 in-person events to 3,000 in-person events, serving 139,000 audience members to serving 89,000 audience members. Both have plans for building back their programs and services and really thoughtful reductions that they each made. However, there are significant decrease in the number of services that they're going to provide on behalf of the city of Dallas through this program.
Do we have any questions or comments? Commissioner Halomo? Oh, I can't tell if that was just adjusting.
Sorry.
Did you have a question?
I do. I cannot find Forest Forward in my spreadsheet. Can you help me?
Sure. It is the very bottom of tier 5, the 3 to 10 million group.
Is it listed below the Black Academy of Arts and Letters?
It is.
Okay, then it was cut off on my printout. Sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Julia, I have a question first of all, this matrix that was submitted, that isn't necessarily a voluntary thing. We check in with all of our organizations before we do funding to see if anything has significantly changed, or we ask them to let us know. That's a typical thing.
This particular summer, I was actually approached by one of these two organizations saying, we are going to significantly change our scope. What would you like us to do?
Right.
And so at that time, to make it fair for everybody, I asked everyone in COP, if you're going to be changing your scope dramatically, please send us an updated projection matrix. And these two organizations did. Several others came back with date changes or non-substantive, like very small percentages of change, just as things were finalized from when this application was written in February to September. What is normal is every September, I have asked organizations, please confirm your scope of work, because you write this application in September and we come back and sign contracts in October, that's a very long time. And we expect that some things are going to shift and change. These, however, are more, are much larger shifts than we would typically see in between the application and contract period. And both organizations were very upfront about that in providing those documents and materials.
So a couple of things I'd like to throw out is kudos to these organizations for actually stepping forward rather than letting an application go through that didn't accurately reflect the services that they would be delivering. And I take from your comments, Julia, that the thought process is they're going to reduce their operations so that they can deliver the same quality and then hope to build back. So I feel like it's something to note as we move forward. Because as we move an organization down, we want to see them grow back to where they were and then, and to fund appropriately when they get to that point. And I think that's true for all of our organizations, and we'll see some examples of that as we move through. Any questions, comments, anything anybody want to say related to this? Any concerns, any suggestions that it be a different amount or anything like that that you want to talk about now? And we can still talk about it when we get to the scenarios, but okay, great. Julia.
Okay, so those were the reduction requests that I heard in last week's meeting. On a happier note, okay, here's the increase requests. The major request was to make sure that all organizations returning that scored above a 90 receive whichever one is higher, their percentage of revenue entry point or the flat minimum, not million. As a reminder, this only applies if you got that 90. So in tier 1, 18% or 26K, whichever works better in your favor. For that, it was Pegasus Media Project and Arts Mission Oak Cliff. Both experienced increases to reach that 18% minimum. In tier 2, that's an 11% or 35K, whichever is higher. The following 5 organizations receive increases to reach either 11% or 35K flat minimum, whichever one is higher for that organization. I will note that this PowerPoint is correct. And your spreadsheet, I did not catch that Orchestra of New Spain had received a 90 after their phone call to go over their scorecard. So they now get a 15K increase to get that 35K flat minimum as well. That's reflected in your PowerPoint, but not your spreadsheet. So apologies for that. All right. In higher tiers, Adriana, if we can keep going, thank you so much. For tier 3, that's an 8% minimum or 45K, whichever is higher. So the organizations that get an increase there are GDYO, Out Loud Dallas, Creative Arts Center, and Uptown Players. For tier 4, that's a 3.5% minimum or 75K, whichever is higher. That's Bruce Wood Dance experiencing that increase to reach that 75K minimum. And finally, tier 5 and 6, this is the tier that came out better in the purple scenario, and so we've modified it here to match that. Tier 5 was 2% or $100,000, whichever is higher. So Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights gets an increase to reach that 2% minimum. And tier 6 receives 0.75% minimum or 125K, whichever is higher. The Nasher Sculpture Center and Dallas Theater Center each receive an increase to reach that 125K minimum award.
Do we have any questions or comments on tier 6? I'm sorry, tier 6 on the increases. Sorry, I did a space for a minute. Any questions or comments on the office recommendations regarding increases? Commissioner Daniel.
I'm just going to continue to join the Julia fan club, and that's it.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? We gave her, I think, what was an impossible task, and she just keeps proving that she has a cape in her closet, and she puts it on for us. So, okay, you're good to go, Julia.
Okay, last but not least, there were also some just general review requests. We had some organizations that are returning to us, but don't quite fit the rule of returning because there was a gap and it's a whole thing. So Dallas Black Dance Theater, Women's Chorus of Dallas and Dallas Symphony Association, I was asked to just look at these and make sure that we are in the ballpark of things that are both fair as new organizations, but also recognizing that they are returning. So for Dallas Black Dance, they left us at 249 in 2024, 2025. If they were entering today as a new organization, they would get a 112,000 award at that 2% for their tier. Acknowledging that they are not entirely a new organization, we've gone with 225 in this scenario. The Women's Chorus of Dallas left us at 23,000 in 2023, 2024. This year, they received the top score of their tier. So they would be coming in like a new organization at 26,233, which makes sense and is comparable to where they left us. The Dallas Symphony previously was in a multi-year facility agreement and COP through the Children's Chorus. Together, that amounted to approximately 600. We have since closed the facility deal that ends this year, so they are fully with us as a COP organization without the facility agreement. So this is a $300,000 award this year with a 96.5 score, and that reflects their programs only, not the building.
Do we have any questions or comments on these three new/returning organizations? Okay.
Great. I think we can keep going. Okay, and that is all she wrote, actually. I apologize. So those were the pieces that I wanted to bring to your attention for the green scenario. Overall, the very obvious, I don't always editorialize, but because there's only one scenario, here's my editorial. The very obvious pro of this scenario is that I think we were able to capture pretty much all of the requests that were left at the last meeting, including inviting in our more borderline new organizations. I sent you all their scopes of work so that you could take a look and make sure that those fit your understanding of what a COP organization needs to be. The con to this is that we are flexing in terms of the growth of this program. This is a significant jump from last year's budget. It is doable. We're not going to run into any problems with it. Thank you so much to Glenn and Martine for helping us be flexible with these hot dollars, but we will not always have this. And so it is just one more piece to think about as we are making this jump. There may be a world, there may be a summer, there may be a year that we will just not be able to do this. So something to keep in mind as we move forward.
Commissioner Holomo.
Thank you. Comment and a question. I too want to just tell you how much we appreciate you, Julia, and all your hard work and the team that you have. Thank you so much for always rising to the occasion. Question, Madam Chair, when we get to making the motion, do we have to make that change with Orchestra of New Spain?
Yes, we will need to.
Okay, thanks.
I think Commissioner Truzillo had her hand up next, and I do see yours, Commissioner Hornbuckle. So you will follow Commissioner Truzillo.
All right, is my microphone working?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll echo those same sentiments. I know this isn't an easy job. I'm still not 100% happy with this. I know that's not a shocker, but I'm not going to die on this sword. However, I will ask, because I am termed out again for future years, that just because you get a certain amount of budget one year shouldn't guarantee you're going to get that next year. And I know some of the groups this year were cut, and as they should be. They scored in the lowest of their tier, or their programming was cut. It's really hard to justify when we're talking to outsiders that you have a group that scored, number one got 100%, but is still only getting 2%. And then you have other groups, another group that scored 18 points less and is getting 4.7% of their budget, which is significant. I mean, that's $100,000 more. I really wish and hope that this committee can be brave and bold enough in future years to say, you know what, we're going to start with a clean slate this year. And the scores are going to mean something, because as I read it, unless you scored in the very bottom, you don't have to make any enhancements. You don't have to make any changes. Why do better? You're still going to get the same amount of money as you've gotten for the last 5 years. So that is my speech. Thank you, Julia. I so appreciate it. And I do know a lot of work went into this.
Thank you, Commissioner Trizella, and thank you for your service. I think we still see you at the commission meeting this month, and it has been, I don't know if this is your last committee meeting. Hopefully not until your replacement, but it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you very
Commissioner
much.
Hornbuckle.
I want to say, as everyone has said, Julie, you did a great job. It seems to me that you addressed all of the issues, and I'm very satisfied. I wanted to say that the Green has my full support, and I have a hard stop at 6, so I just wanted that to be out there before you even asked the question. Thank you.
So I don't see any other hands, so I want to ask this. We came into this meeting with Julia and Glenn letting me know that we're not on a super tight timeline, because we could have another meeting if there was a lot of discussion about this, if there were things that the committee was not comfortable with. Having paused at the various places in the briefing and asked for questions and not sensing any sort of dissent, it strikes me that we might actually be able to vote on this item. So I'd like to ask, is the sentiment of the committee that we are able to vote on this agenda item during this meeting? And if so, if there are no further questions, I would be happy to entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
Was that Commissioner Daniel?
Commissioner Daniel, sorry, I'll
Was
speak
it
up.
Commissioner Daniel, is the
Yes.
motion that we accept the green scenario?
Sorry,
but
yes.
With the change to Orchestra of New Spain?
Yes, that is the motion. I motion that we accept the green scenario with the change to the Orchestra of New Spain.
And
And
that
I will
change being,
second.
and that change being just to correct a typo that is otherwise reflected correctly in the briefing. Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Daniel. We have a second from Commissioner Jackson. Is there any discussion? All in favor? I started to clap instead of raise my hand. Thank you. And, I don't think we
Clap
can
for
pat ourselves on the
Julia.
back, but we can certainly pat Julia on the back. Excellent, excellent work.
When you see Martine and Glenn, you have to give them a big hug, because this is very expensive. So I asked them for a lot of money.
And I
So
apologize,
please.
Glenn. I should have said that up front. I also want to editorialize a little bit right now. I don't know if you all are getting the same questions that I'm getting, but I get them on a fairly regular basis from arts organizations saying, Mickey, this is so horrible. I hear they're cutting the arts budget. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to not have any money next year? And I encourage us all to really encourage the organizations to look at what is happening, not necessarily what might be on TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or even in the more mainstream news, because this is the most money we will have ever awarded in this program. We may not have it when we don't have hot tax money, but assuming that this recommendation is accepted by commission and goes through QLAC and is accepted by the city council, it does show a commitment to the arts in the city of Dallas. And we really appreciate everybody on the staff for working so hard and your interaction with our elected officials to make sure that they understand how important that is. So when people say the arts budgets are being cut, it's really important for us And that goes to those of you who are here today representing organizations. It's really important that you be out in the community, not saying we didn't get as much as we hoped we'd get or as much as we got on any particular year, but we are really excited to see the city of Dallas supporting all of the arts organizations. So I hope that you will all do that. Commissioner Daniel.
Wow, did I just forget what I was going to say? Jeez.
I
Oh,
talked
I'm
too
sorry.
long. I'm sorry. I can come back to
No,
you.
no, it is. Yeah, I literally have nothing. I got
Okay,
nothing.
think about it because Commissioner Spellacy has his hand up, and put yours back up if you think of it. You're not as old as I am, and it's happening to you already. You got it? Okay, quick. Go before you
Okay,
forget.
sorry. So, yes, this is a tough year for arts organizations. We are funding more than we ever have. I know this is not necessarily a committee or a commission that likes to pat themselves on the back or tout the successes sometimes, but I do want to make sure that I think it's important that we do tell the narrative that in a year of potential loss that we are extending and going farther, because I think that framing it that way allows us to, in years in the future, if we do have to pull back funding, it's not a matter of us pulling back funding, it's a matter of us having celebrated the fact that we increased funding. So however with the press release, with the whatever, however we tell the world about it, I also want to make sure that we explicitly say this is more funding than we have ever provided. And we can do it implicitly or explicitly say, and it's because of the year that we're in, to make sure that our arts organizations are as successful as possible. And that we've brought in new organizations. I just want the full narrative of what we were able to accomplish today and how it benefits the community of Dallas to be told to those people that it matters, because it does matter.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniel. Commissioner Spellacy. We can't hear you.
That.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Haven't talked since I switched over to my computer. I think we should all say thank you to our council people, because when I started on this commission, our hot tax percentage was quite low. When we looked at it compared to our peer cities in particular, and you know, they allowed that hot tax percentage that we received for the arts to increase year on year until we were more in line with our peer cities. And without that, we would have been in big trouble this year. And I think that we just need to communicate to them that we appreciate that was done, and that we really encourage them to make sure that doesn't ever get reversed, because that's a huge it's a huge buffer for us when we hit years like this. So we don't have to, you know, do some things like some other departments are doing. So I just think that's important to mention.
Thank you, Commissioner Spellacy. Notwithstanding, I do want to say, Commissioner Trezzello, we hear you, your comments, and even though we have not gotten exactly where we want to be, and you can certainly look at least one tier and see that we have some work to do, I want to thank all of you, because several years ago, we started working on trying to, here I am giving us the credit, and it's Julia who did it, but we looked at the fact that the percentages were out of whack. There were things that were out of whack. And while we're not where we need to be yet, if you look at this overall scenario, we have made some significant progress in terms of having the awards make sense. And even without your participation, Joe, we will continue to work on that in future years. So thank you for reminding us before you depart from the committee. Anybody else? Okay. We have more on the agenda.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Let's see, where are we? We now have
Just staff.
I see staff updates and announcements.
Yep. And I think I have that one too. I'm sorry. It's a lot of talking from me today. I did want to bring to your attention a couple things. One is that Arts Activate is very, very much in full swing. So Arts Activate round 1, those applications came in this summer, and then we went on a giant pause to make sure that the guidelines were approved. Those Arts Activate round 1 projects, you will look forward to hearing about them in November. We're going to vote on them. Round 2 closed on Monday, the 29th, and we are also at the same time running panels for those. So you'll get to vote on those in December. So I apologize. I know everybody else gets a break in December. This committee will not, because your round 2 Arts Activate folks really want to hear from you. There's also, I think these have a lot of committees. If you would be willing to talk about how great this is to your commissioners on the 16th, or get any questions ahead of time, that I will be there on the 16th with you, but it really helps me if you're hearing questions from your fellow commissioners that I can look up the answers for in advance. If you could let me know what questions there are among your peers that I can be ready to answer, so that we get a vote and can go straight to city council with just no issues at all in November. That's what we can look forward to this fall. But thank you so much to everybody for your time and being here, and especially to Commissioner Trezilla. I personally just have so enjoyed working with you and having you on this committee. I'm really nervous about not having you on this committee, as I always can count on you to keep us honest and moving forward. So I am so grateful that you have been here, and such a voice for artists and arts and culture organizations. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the staff update.
Okay, so chair updates and announcements. I think I've already talked a lot, so I'm going to ask one more time. Does anybody have anything they want to say? Because when I close this meeting, much sooner than I expected to be able to close it, I want to be sure that I'm closed. Commissioner Holomo.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to a topic that was mentioned earlier about thanking city council members. I would also encourage you all, if you know our arts advocacy group, and you see them, please thank them, because it is a lot of advocacy that has happened over the last 10 years to get the hot where it's up. And I'm going to send an invitation to Adriana to share with everyone. There's an arts advocacy mixer at the Cedars on Tuesday, I believe. So you can tell them thank you there, or just come, and I'm sure that they would appreciate seeing all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holomo. Anyone else? Commissioners who are not a member of the committee? Commissioner Blaze, Commissioner Nugent, anything that you guys would like to add?
Sorry.
Oh, I have one more from Julia.
I'm so sorry. I forgot one thing. I will send an email through Adriana to all of you and your peers, but I know that this committee is so active in the arts world, and many of you will have conflicts of interest when we have our official vote. So this year, please, 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 please help me get these votes organized ahead of time by telling me where all your conflicts are. I will send a sheet. We will have like 8 votes if you've been part of this before, but I need to know which organizations are going to go in which vote and who's going to step out when, and it's a really lovely choreographed dance. So if you know already that you have conflicts, please be communicating those to Adriana this next week so we can get ready for that. Thank you.
And we should also say a big thank you to Adriana. It's been great to have you. The streamlining of the materials that we're receiving, getting something from you that tells us all the dates that we need to know of instead of a bunch of different emails. We so appreciate your support. It's made the work of the committee much easier, and I'm sure that Chair Small would agree with the commission as a whole. Chair Small has asked me to ask you all to first of all, be sure you get those conflicts in. And if you know of any questions or any concerns that you think your fellow commissioners who are not a part of this committee are going to have about our recommendation, let's do not violate the Open Meetings Act, but please encourage them to call Julia for any sort of explanations in advance, because we really do want to have a very efficient approval of our recommendation at the October meeting, and it will already be somewhat inefficient because of the conflict of interest system. As you recall, that is a bit of a musical chairs situation. Okay, all business before this committee being concluded, I call the meeting to a close at 5:34 p.m. Thank you all for excellent work. Reach up and pat yourselves on the back.
Thank you.
You on the back.
Wow.
Good job, y'all.
Okay. Yeah.